It's amazing what one bad day at the office will do to someone's reputation. Because it seems like just 10 months ago, these three running backs were at the top of every analyst's list. And now suddenly, heading into the middle of July, each one of them is ranked outside the top 15 or even worse. So come find out who I'm hitching my wagon to in 2022. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. And for those of you visiting for the very first time, I am Nate Liss, a podcaster / content creator over at dynastyrankings.com, and potentially your secret weapon this season to dethroning that guy in your fantasy league who's won for 2 consecutive years and shows up late to every draft doing absolutely zero homework and seems to win. Now, before we dive in, I want to give a huge thank you to this audience because we did it. We hit 2,000 subscribers last week and it continues to grow, even up to the minute that I'm recording this video right now. But as mentioned prior to last week's episode, I want to show you the awesome subscriber growth that we've seen since last week. Now, I put a call to action out to this audience, and what I said was, if you love what you've been seeing and want to help support my channel and create a rocket ship trajectory to the top of the charts, then hit the subscribe button for me right now. And you did. In fact, lots of you did. As of last week, we were sitting at roughly 1,990 subscribers, and entering today's episode, we're looking at about right around 2,045 subscribers. So once again, a massive thank you to all of you guys in the audience who have helped this channel grow each and every week. But enough of the banter, it's time to jump right in. Now, for those of you familiar with this channel, you know that I've already caped up for players like Saquon Barkley and Travis Etienne and Antonio Gibson. But for those of you that didn't know that, go check out those videos because they're full length and incredibly in depth on each and every one of those players. But this week, I wanted to focus on 3 other running backs with league winning upside at prices so low that my father, a notoriously cheap man, would pay full price. I mean, who doesn't like a cheap running back with RB1 potential? Cam Akers. Want to know the definition of recency bias? Just look at Cam Akers' current dynasty ranking on Keep Trade Cut. Even after Sony Michel left in free agency, the Rams added no one of consequence to this backfield, but apparently just the thought of Darrell Henderson alone was enough to send fantasy gamers heading for the hills. No matter what your excuse is, odds are you were still too low on Cam Akers, and here's why. For starters, nobody has ever come back from an Achilles tendon tear the way that Akers did in 2021. In a span of 6 months, we watched Akers fully rehab to the point where he was able to handle 67 carries during the NFL playoffs en route to becoming a Super Bowl champion. But it's the underwhelming final performances just 6 months after the most significant injury a running back can sustain that got everybody hot and bothered under the collar. I mean, the guy faced the Cardinals, the Buccaneers, the 49ers, the Bengals. As you can see on the screen, based on in-season rankings versus positions, 3 of the 4 teams Cam Akers faced were top 6 versus fantasy running backs, and the 4th, the Bengals, were still middle of the league in terms of run-stopping ability. It's just an interesting footnote that 3 of those defenses combined to hold running backs to less than 15.3 fantasy points per game, while the 3 worst defenses in the NFL combined to give up 23.8 fantasy points per game to the running back position. So it's not like Akers stepped into some cakewalk situation, but again, recency bias.
That was easy.
So for the sake of this argument, let's for a minute assume that Cam Akers is 100% entering 2022. I mean, he did look as explosive as ever throughout the playoffs last year. Now let's also assume the Rams, who just added Allen Robinson in free agency, are even more potent through the air than they were last season. And let's once again assume that this offensive line still grades out roughly as a top 15 or better option. Well, if all of this comes true, and it very easily can, then the upside for Cam Akers is better than you can probably imagine. Because after finishing top 4 in the league in red zone rush attempts last season, the Rams also finished in the bottom 6 in rushing touchdowns. Apparently, the sum of Sony Michel and the boogeyman Darrell Henderson just couldn't get it done despite 73 combined red zone rush attempts. The fact of the matter is the Rams are set for a massive rebound in the rushing touchdown department as they are officially more dangerous through the air than ever before and returning their best running back to complete health. In fact, they're returning a running back who just 2 years ago was starting to turn on the juice in 4 of the only 5 games he's ever been in with a snap share of greater than 60%. Isn't it incredible? His situation is premier. His skill set is elite. His age is just 23. His backfield is locked up. His offense is elite, and you've still never seen him at his full powers. But sure, he deserves to be the RB22 in redraft and the RB19 in dynasty. Miles Sanders. Well, he survived the NFL draft, which absolutely none of you thought that he would. And despite being caped up for by every elite analyst in the world year after year, you still don't believe in him.
Oh, there you are.
Sanders. Yet there are few rushers in the league who are barely 25 years old, elite athletes, atop their team's depth chart, and routinely generated more yards per touch than he has. And despite the top-end run blocking unit, Miles Sanders only finished as an RB1 twice in 2021, and that's about the point where fantasy gamers finally gave up.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, you're cool, and fuck you, I'm out.
However, similar to Josh Jacobs, Sanders is in a contract year, and how he performs this season will dictate where he goes from here. But I have good news for those of you who have been holding on this long. Miles Sanders is much better than the raw numbers indicate, and I'm going to tell you why. Let's start with pace of play. Well, despite playing with Jalen Hurts, a quarterback who ranked number 1 in positional rush attempts last season, after devouring 140 of them on his own, Miles Sanders was still on a 17-game pace of around 225 touches, a number that would have ranked him somewhere in the top 20 or lower at the running back position last year. Believe it or not, even with Kenny Gainwell eating up 50 targets of his own, Sanders was still trending towards top 15 opportunity regardless. Yet what will get lost on people is that just a year ago, in the same amount of games played, Miles Sanders was ranked number 7 in NFL snap share with a rate over 70%. That would be a mark this year in 2021 that was only achieved by 4 other running backs. But after an ankle injury that cost him 3 games and a hand fracture that cost him 2 games, Sanders' moment went to shit. However, because we've seen the volume before and we've seen the pace of opportunity before, it gives me great pleasure to drop this statistic on you as well. In 2021, per Pro Football Focus, Miles Sanders had the highest rate of runs resulting in positive yardage. And believe it or not, it still gets better. Because now that we know Sanders is a runner who gains positive yardage more frequently than any other runner in the league, we can look at graphs like this and see that he's also doing it at an incredible rate of explosive plays. This was exactly what Player Profiler was trying to show us when they had Sanders ranked as a top 10 player in total breakaway runs. Which is again amazing considering the injuries he sustained and the fact that he had played just 12 games and only saw 137 rush attempts.
But let's go even deeper.
Now I'm going to ask you a question and then I'm going to count to 3. You shout the answer out and let's see how good you are. After rushing for 754 yards in 2021, Miles Sanders scored how many touchdowns? Wrong. The answer is 0. Yes, shockingly, on his 23 total red zone rush attempts, Sanders converted exactly 0 into touchdowns. Look, I understand the concern about the injury history, but again, how many 25-year-old running backs are behind a top 5 offensive line, have an offense that's top in the NFL in total rush attempts, has the starting job in the backfield completely locked up, is coming off of a season where they scored 0 touchdowns and is currently being priced as the RB29 on Keep Trade Cut? The answer?
Literally none of them.
Chase Edmonds. Well, if you've been following my work for a while, then it's probably going to be an absolute shock to hear this name tumble from my lips.
It's so good! Once it hits your lips, it's so good!
Because I've gone on record for years as an Edmonds detractor, and it was only until this offseason that his value began to jump out at me. I mean, the idea that an electric playmaker who signed a hefty offseason contract may have just landed in one of the league's most dynamic and explosive offenses makes my toes curl. For starters, over the past 2 seasons, Chase Edmonds has ranked top 10 or better in yards per touch. And this should come as no surprise, as both his breakaway run rate and juke rate were inside the top 12 last season. Look, Edmonds isn't just a potent rusher who was underutilized in Arizona. Oh no, he's also an absolute threat in space. Like Darth Vader. Oh! But in 2021, we witnessed Edmonds being deployed as a receiver at a more consistent rate. It's the big reason why he finished top 7 in target share and top 9 in yards per route run. But now in Miami, he will have even more advantages at his disposal. For instance, how about the deep threats in this passing game? Now, we all know Kyler Murray was top 8 in deep ball pass attempts last season, but when you begin to talk about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in the same offense, you begin to enter another dimension. Now, before anyone says anything about Tua's deep ball, let me remind you that he was one of the league's most accurate downfield passers in 2021. But it gets even better for Edmonds. With the new addition of head coach Mike McDaniel, we will immediately see the running back target share rise from where it was last season. As you can see here, the 49ers targeted the running back position at a rate of 20% in 2021, which was good for 13th in the NFL and at a rate of 4% higher than what we saw from Miami last season. But the other advantage of a Mike McDaniel offense is the creativity that it allows for. Because last season, the San Francisco 49ers were a team that ended up top 5 in total rush attempts. And I don't know if you've noticed it yet, but this is a running back room that absolutely stinks. Raheem Mostert, Sony Michel, Myles Gaskin? And I realized the James Webb Telescope just took some deep space images, but even out there wasn't a universe where this running back room was actually good.
Oh, God, I thought that was absolutely dreadful.
So what's the hope for Chase Edmonds in 2022? Well, after being signed through 2023 and being valued around the price tag of the RB39 on Keep Trade Cut, the only answer that is acceptable should be world domination or a complete implosion. But lucky for us, we have 17 games to find out which one it is. Thank you again, guys, for checking out the channel. I hope you like this. I'm trying to do it in 3 players, 5 players, 10 players. I don't know how many players I'm going to do next week, but I'm having fun creating these lists and breaking down each one of these players. Tell me who I got right. Tell me who I got wrong. I always love the feedback. Make sure to comment below, hit the like button, and of course, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed what you saw today. And look in the description. We have a link for the Discord group where you guys can find me. You can banter with all the members of the Discord server. They are absolutely fantastic, and I am always available on there as well. Thank you guys so much. I will see you next week.